episode of Global News Review. My name is Ola, and today we're talking about interesting things from Google and the adjustments that they're making to their AI tools, to Togo and the fact that they just launched a financial literacy survey, a financial inclusion survey, and then, of course, to Nigeria, where we have a lot to talk about when it comes to Eurobonds and the impact of Dangote refinery on the whole energy sector in Nigeria. So stick around and don't miss a bit. My name is Ola. Follow me on all socials at Ola Oladele. And on this channel, we talk about personal finance, investment, and the economy in simple English. So you want to stick around. Now, starting with the first news. In terms of first news, so yes, um, Google Maps, they decided, or they Google has launched an update, that's or two updates for that matter, one for Google Maps and then one for their AI tool. Basically, what they are doing is that they are moving away from AI as a standalone to integration of AI into your everyday life and living. And that is the current future. You can't even call it the future right now. That is the now. That is the now. So basically, Google just updated their map such that you can be on a road. And you know the way Google would say, in 500 meters, turn left. Now, Google would say, when you see the red building with the blue roof, turn left, like that interactive. You can also ask Google, oh, where is there any restaurants in this area while you are on the go, and it can give you options, things like that. So it's now not AI as a separate tool, but AI integration into your everyday life and living. And another thing that they've also implemented, which is currently only available in the US, is that for their AI bots, it's now no longer an assistant. It's almost like an agent. So if, for example, you want to go for events, right? And you want to buy tickets online, you can actually say, Google, please check for tickets for this event. I want to be in the stand-up area. I want to be in the exec area or the, VIP area, and it will get you the tickets and you can pay. Like that's how much integration we are coming into. Now, what does this mean for you? Number one, as an individual, life is changing. Life as we know it is changing. The speed at which we get things done is changing. Number two, as an investor, yes, we know that Google is the big boy. Google has been fighting different types of battles with the US Department of Justice in terms of being too big, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is that these guys are still disrupting themselves, like they are going over and over in themselves. So you as an investor, how are you positioned? Number one, AI is here to stay. But what we are seeing is that AI, even though there appears there's a conversation around the bubble, but there also appears to be a situation where AI is now not a standalone tool. The question is, how can you optimize what you are doing with AI? If you're running a business, how can you optimize with AI? That's the kind of thinking. That's where we are right now in the world, right? So before, where there was this thinking that AI is a separate thing that you would invest in, but now how is AI stepping on top of what is already existing to optimize it? That's where we are. And if you're not thinking along those lines, then you need to wake up. Then Netflix is now making adjustments. Now it's quite interesting. You can see how they are managing their comms intentionally. So they said they're including games, then they're doing some other, then then now you can now vote while you are watching a live event, right? They're now saying that, okay, there's now a new metric, if you want to measure their growth, that is tied to the changes that they have made. What are they doing here? They are carrying their investors, they are carrying potential investors, they are carrying the market along with them in their in their evolution journey. What do I mean? 5 years ago, what was Netflix about? Netflix was simply about subscriptions, their subscriber base, their expansion, blah, blah, blah. The quality of the assets or the views, the things that we are watching on Netflix and how it's attracting people. But now they are saying, okay, let's just bring traffic to this platform and let's use it for ads. But the question, Google is moving away from ads. Google's ad business is being threatened because the fact is that Google, with AI, ads is going to be less of a thing. So imagine if a restaurant was putting up ads for to get clients, and then somebody is driving and says, hey, I pick some of the restaurants around here. Isn't that a faster way for you to get found? Do you get what that also means? If you just don't know, is that your Google My Business needs to be on point. You need to optimize yourself so that AI can find you. That's another thing I didn't mention. But we can see, and then so it's almost like, okay, is Netflix a little bit behind the curve? I don't know. Let's see. But these are things that we need to consider. And most important thing for you as the investor is to look at all these things and say, where am I positioning myself? What should I be doing? Apart from the noise and the PR, because some of these things is PR, right? Apart from that noise and stuff, what should I, as an investor, be doing with my money? Where should I put it? And there are things to do. Join the Money With Club if you want to know what to do. Yeah. And then African news, right? African news, Togo launches national survey to assess financial inclusion. Now, for us at the Money With, so we have the Money With Club, the Money With Media, and the Money With School. Our mission is to bridge the financial literacy gap across Africa. So this news was particularly exciting. Why? Because Africa does not have data. A lot of times we are working blindly, right? So when we see things like this, where people where a country decides to take the bull by the horn and actually find data. In Nigeria, I think there's a financial literacy survey that was commissioned in 2015, and that's like the base survey that they would use to measure changes or impact over the years. But it's important to start. And so for us at the Money With, where we are providing education, we have access to deals, we have media channels, that media programs that we're doing just to push out financial literacy. This is welcome news, because for us, we can now, once the survey report is published, you actually have tangible data on where the gaps are. Now, why is this important if you don't know? So we say financial inclusion, but the fact is that a lot of people come and say, oh, they know they should invest, but they don't know where to invest. The reason they don't know where to invest is could be one, they don't actually know what to invest in. And number two, there are no solutions that fit them. But that survey and the report of that survey would say where are the gaps. So what solutions should be created, right? Now, when those solutions are created, financial education is also important because it will now help people understand that, oh, this is a solution to my problem. Yeah, you can see why we're excited about it. We just thought to highlight it because, yeah, that's our space. Africa is our what's the English? Africa is our zone. So anywhere that is moving forward in financial education, financial inclusion, we are there. Yeah. And then the final news out of Nigeria. Oh, the second news wasn't stated there. So let's even start with O&O suspending. They announced that they are suspending petrol imports as Dangote raises output. Now, we had talked about it 2 weeks ago or so, last week or 2 weeks ago, where the federal government announced 15% tariffs on refined product imports. So before now, we know that Nigeria is to import fuel. And we talked about the fact that the table had turned, because when we were importing, we were now paying subsidies. So it was a cost to the government. Now we have stopped. We are saying that if you want to import as whoever you are that decides to import, well, when there's Dangote refinery and other smaller independent refineries anyways, you will pay a tariff. And so it becomes a revenue line for the government. So it's a change in the dynamics. Now, what this does is that for you as an independent importer, or independent marketer, you will now have to run the numbers and say, if I buy from the guys that are here, or if I buy from the international markets, which one will benefit me when you consider the 15% tariff on top? Now, obviously, there might and will be times when the numbers would make a case for importing as against doing local. But for now, it is obvious that that case is not very strong. And so O&A is jumping ship and saying, okay, we are going to be buying from independent marketers, from local refineries rather, instead of importing like we used to. And that's the kind of thing that we need. Why? Because every time they're importing fuel, what happens is that it puts pressure on the currency. There's also that exposure of the nation to global economic impact, right? So it's progress, but of course there's the political arm to it, blah blah blah. But even as a nation, you know the way, okay, two elephants are fighting, the grass is suffering, but in this one, two elephants are facing themselves, the grass is probably benefiting from it. Yeah, at least for now. And the final news is that Nigeria issued a Eurobond last week. And I thought to mention The Eurobond basically is not a bond issued in euros. That's the first thing. It's not a bond issued in euros. It's basically a bond that is issued in a denomination, that means in a currency that is different from the currency of the entity that is issuing it and the country where it is issued. So, explanation. The Nigerian Eurobond is issued, if the country issuing it is Nigeria, our currency is Naira. Where we issued it is in the UK, the currency is GBP. However, we issued it in USD. So there are three currencies at play here. So that is when it's called a Eurobond. So if you do that same combination with a UK, Japan, and US Eurobond, it's not just because Nigeria, right? Or Kenya, right? So that's the first thing you need to understand. It's not a bond issued in euros. Now, why is this so exciting? It's so exciting because there's capital gains tax that has been in the news where, oh, there's a lot of talk around this is going to push away foreign investors, blah 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 blah. Even though yes, it's local markets to an extent too. It's local market that it impacts, but some of those things are supposed to spook investors and say, is Nigeria ready for business? That's the general consensus around that. So there's capital gains brouhaha, and then there's now President Trump that is threatening to invade Nigeria in one way, shape, or form due to insecurity and all that. And then for the average person would wonder that, are these people okay? Why would you oversubscribe means that they had 2 billion worth to sell and 13 billion worth of demand came for that 2 billion. So what are these people seeing? And this is where I want to end today's session. The fact that you need to understand clearly that there's no country without issues. There is simply no country without issues, none at all. Even the US that is threatening to invade, US, there's always one gunshot event here, gun, all that, right? The US government has been shut down for a month, right? Even the UK, they're always changing leadership, like they're changing caps or hats. Do you understand what I mean? What am I saying? There is no country without its own issues. And it's very important. It's a mindset shift that despite the issues, you need to keep your eyes open for the opportunity. You need to be able to quantify your risk and analyze your risk effectively. And also don't put all your eggs in one basket. I think that's even the major thing. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. But fundamentally, if you continue to look at the problems, you would not do anything. Time will still pass, and you look back and realize that thing that I saw, but I ignored because of something else I should have done. And that should can actually pile up a whole lot. And it's the difference between those who blow and those who don't. And that's literally it. So, whilst yes, there are those risks, and nobody's denying the fact that this risk exists, the fact is that you need to educate yourself enough to quantify, profile these risks, and then know the ones you want to take and the ones you need to walk away from. But that you will not take risk. If you don't take risk, then there's no reward. That's just it. So I trust this was useful. I always want you to remember that you can't outsource your health and your finances. You always have to engage. You have to get into the game. That's literally it. You do. And if you want to, if you're interested, if you've not heard about us, the Money Week Club, we're taking in new members. The gates close on the 13th of this month. So you might want to check us out. Let me see if I can pop it up. www.themoneyweekclub.com. Yes, so it pops up here. themoneyweekclub.com. Check us out. If you have any questions, drop in the comments. You can also reach out to us. Hello@themoneyweek.africa. Yeah. And see you on the other side. Bye.